Hello and welcome to Bold TV. My name is David Grasso from Gen Biz, a nonprofit dedicated to helping millennials and Gen Z understand money and entrepreneurship. Today we have none other than Commins-Tzoumakas. She's joining us. She's of course the CEO of 21st Century Oncology. How you doing, Kim?
I'm great. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great. It's summertime. We got the summer clothing on.
Exactly.
Here to talk about a
And you're looking
serious
good,
topic
too.
today. Thank you. Likewise. Tell us about what you do and what differentiates you. Cancer is a big deal. It touches a lot of families. You know, a lot of us have seen that, lost family members, etc. What do you do at 21st Century Oncology that's different?
It does. And I will say it touched me personally through my father dying of cancer, my children's grandfather also dying of cancer. And so it's something that I feel very passionately about. But one of the things that I am really excited about being part of 21st Century Oncology is the fact that they are focused on treating patients in the communities where they live with the same level of technology, innovation, and research that you can get in large academic centers that you might not have access to if you live in a smaller town or in an area that doesn't have one of those opportunities available to you.
And this is something, not to get too political, that we saw in the 2016 election. We're seeing increasingly more divides between regions, right? And we've seen the rise of super places like here in New York, right? Los Angeles, Miami, Dallas, Chicago, and everywhere else lacks resources, lacks jobs, etc. So I found it very interesting that you are present in these communities. In my home state, you're in Marianna, Florida, which I've been to.
That's right.
Why is it important to be in these places? Is it not only the right thing to do, but also a business opportunity?
It is, and to say that it's just the right thing to do as a business, most people, are not always going to do just the right thing to do.
Of course.
They also need to make good business sense. But our doctors feel very passionately about what they can do for patients in those communities and in those areas, and they're there fighting just as hard for those patients as they would be if they were in New York in a large academic medical center. And so they bring it to the local town, they bring it to the community where patients can actually stay home with their family and friends, but still get that same level of expertise and treatment. And so from a business perspective, it is a really valuable business proposition because you're able to treat in areas that you're not competing with those large academic centers, and you're treating potentially a different population, but a population who has the same exact needs as the people that can jump on the plane and fly to New York.
Yeah, let's talk about these underserved populations. Before you guys showed up, what would they do? They would have to travel to big cities, wouldn't they?
Correct. And so a lot of the nonprofit hospitals really try to have the all-inclusive programs in these small hospitals. But if you follow small hospitals, they're really struggling to be able to treat patients in all specialties because they've got to cover every specialty. And oftentimes these really expensive radiation treatment centers are the ones that fall by the wayside with those hospitals because there's not enough volume to justify the cost. Upkeep of the technology, upkeep of the experts in that area are really hard to recruit. And so we have the ability, because we're in so many states across so many parts of the country, that we can use some of those economies of scale and some of those benefits to be able to bring it to those local towns.
Yeah, let's talk about that. The technology's constantly changing. My grandma died of cancer 23 years ago. There weren't a lot of options available to her.
That's right.
Now things that were once considered uncurable, or untreatable rather, are being treated.
That's right.
So how do you guys, with this presence in small towns all over the country, keep the latest and greatest and recruit talent for that matter?
Yeah, it's a real challenge. And what we've done, which I'm most excited about, is we've created a national physician quality committee. And that quality committee is led by our physician research innovators that are located in various parts of the country. They all have come together and said, we want to be the leader in research in individual locations rather than in the academic centers. Most of them came, frankly, from the big academic centers, and for personal or other reasons, just want to be able to treat in local communities. And so they're bringing that level of technology and that level of research experience to those communities, but we're putting them all on meetings and conferences together to where they're sharing those insights across the country. And it's really bringing an even broader scale than you would if you were in a single place in New York in a big academic center. We're getting people from California to Florida to Michigan that are on NCI studies that are doing some of the latest and greatest technology.
Because they're geographically separated, but
correct.
It's very integrated.
That's great.
So I read the article about how you guys do things, and one of the things that piqued my interest was the human factor. So we talk about the latest and greatest in technology. We're talking about, integrating your operations. But you also mentioned your doctor should give you a hug.
Yes.
Why is that important?
That is actually really important in my view. But one of the things that was so exciting to me is as I sat down with a group of our innovative doctors and I said, what are we going to be? What do we want to be that makes us different? What do we want to give to our patients? And the doctor said, people forget this is all about the patients. We're all here because of the patients. And I said, okay, what do we give them that's different than walking into that large, shiny new cancer center,
in a big city that's like 5-6 hours from where they live?
Correct.
Yeah.
And one of my doctors said, when my patients walk in, I hug them every day, and so do the rest of the members of my team. And a bunch of our other doctors, as we started talking about that, said, I do the same thing. Another one of my doctors said, we do dance therapy with them. I run a class in the evenings where I do dance therapy with my patients. Another one said, we have these aromas in the offices where they can actually, relax and be calm before they go in. And in talking to patients, one of the things I've been excited about doing is going out and actually talking to patients in our clinics, and they'll say, I walk in here and I feel good. And how many people with a cancer diagnosis walking into a clinic can say, I walk in here and I feel good? That's what we want to give to the patients, and that's where you can be a differentiator. Hospitals and big centers just don't have that same ability to connect. Yeah. And it's not a criticism, they just don't have the same ability to do that.
A lot of things we're encountering this in modern times. I just lost my great-grandmother last year, and she lived till 98, right?
Wow.
And we know how to extend life, but we don't know how to extend life quality.
That's right.
It's very important to include these type of programs, or if not, you're keeping your patients alive, but they're not really experiencing quality of life.
That's right. And I think there's a lot of life quality issues that hit cancer patients that get overlooked. We can treat the disease, we can treat the tumor, we can make sure that they're clinically going to live. But what about the rest of their body functions and the carryover
What about their
effects?
loved ones?
That's right.
Yeah.
And the impact on them and the emotional impact on the people surrounding them as well that they go through.
So obviously in our country we have coverage issues, right? Not everyone has insurance, etc. Do you operate differently in states that have expanded Medicaid versus non-expanded Medicaid?
No, and one of the things I'm very proud about with our company, a lot of people say, oh, you're a for-profit company, you're not taking care of the indigent patients. That is not our philosophy. We are in a lot of those markets where it really is a low, more indigent population, and one of the things that we want to do is provide the same care to every patient across this country.
So you do take a lot of cases?
We do not ask about insurance when we take patients in. We are very committed to treating the patients in that community regardless of their ability to pay. And frankly, one of the things we're excited about is the upcoming restructuring of the payment model for radiation oncology, which is really going to level the field. Sometime within the next couple of weeks, CMS is going to be releasing what's going to be the alternative payment model, which is actually going to kind of level the playing field.
Is it going to be based on outcomes instead?
It's going to be based on quality outcomes, which we're really excited about because we feel like we're leaders in that area. And it's going to be based on the diagnosis that you have rather than what your doctor chooses to treat that with. So there's going to be payment parity
interesting.
Across
it's
the
other way. So
That's
sometimes they were treating with things that paid more but didn't work as well?
They could be. They could
Right,
be, yes.
yeah.
And there's no way to really level that out without creating just a flat payment system. And it also creates some of the transparency, right, that we've been hearing about in all the discussions around frustrations related to payments and knowing what you owe and knowing what it's going to cost.
We all deal with it. Yeah, it's part of American life.
It is, absolutely.
So tell me before I leave you, what is your advice for someone? Let's say you yourself or one of your family members get a cancer diagnosis. What do we need to know?
The very first thing you need to know is to do your research, and the research should not be getting on the internet and doing your research. It's kind of a scary way to do it. The most important
WebMD will tell you you're dying, you're for
Exactly.
sure, and you might just have a cold, right?
There's almost any criteria you could put in, and it'll come back telling you have cancer.
Right, yeah. Fatigue, cough, cancer.
Yes. Yeah. So the most important thing that I would tell everybody is to go meet with the doctor who's going to be doing your treatment. That relationship is between you and that doctor, that radiation therapist, that oncology nurse. You do, and you need somebody you trust. And if that person connects with you and their plan is consistent with what you and your family believe is best for you, at the end of the day, that's what really is going to matter. You are not going to get better treatment by going to some big center necessarily. You need to connect with the doctor.
We have
that's
that
right
bias.
We do.
Yeah.
We do, and I know from personal experience, there's a tendency to immediately gravitate towards that, and sometimes you're missing the very best right in your own community. So just do your homework.
So you have the same people who are working at the big institutions here. They've migrated to places like you.
Absolutely.
And they're enjoying the cheap living, I imagine.
They are, and they're enjoying the ability to spend quality time with their patients without being limited about the amount of time they can spend, without having to churn through more because they're on a certain protocol. It's a freedom to practice the way they want to practice.
So, last question here. What do you think is the next chapter in cancer treatment? Where are we headed?
I think that we're heading a lot more towards more immunotherapy, a lot more drug treatment, and frankly, a lot less surgeries probably, and a lot less radiation
So
down
using
the road.
your own immune system to fight the cancer.
Absolutely.
Sounds like that makes a lot more sense than what we do now.
It'd be a great way to do it.
Absolutely. Kim, thank you so much for taking the time
Thank
to
you.
talk to me.
It was great talking to you.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.